Welcome to Culture Shift with Duda Penteado, the Artivist. Today, I have the legend, man, the poet, the man behind
The legend.
Step Dance, behind instant art, you know, the performing band, a good friend of mine. And I know for years I had the privilege of having him writing poetry in my artwork. And without further ado, here's Reg E. Gaines,
What
my
up?
good friend and fantastic
What up,
human
bro?
being.
How are you?
How you doing?
I'm breathing and happy.
Man, I'm so glad.
Thanks for having me on.
Sure. And I'm glad you're here. Um, you've been living in California for many years now, right? What
Long
is it?
time, 2 decades.
2 decades, 20 years, around 20 years. Still playing tennis out there. Cool. Keep going. But let's begin at your story. You grew up here, right here in Jersey City,
I
right?
sure did.
Yeah.
We're not far from where I was born, which was Margaret Haig Paternity Hospital on
Mm,
Montgomery and Summit.
sure.
So from that point, I had a sister, older sister, my mother and father, my old sister Sherry. We moved to Hudson Garden, which is on Newark Avenue, across the
Mm,
street from Dickinson High School.
mm.
So that's the first place I ever lived here. And I went to PS number 6 up in the Heights. And by the time I got to the 3rd grade, we moved to Bergen Lafayette, Greenville, Randolph, and Claremont Avenue.
Which is right here where,
Right here.
right here
So
where
I used to play
yeah.
football across the street where the factories were that what they're tearing down and building this new art community place. So this is my neighborhood. I used to catch the bus that would drop me off on Garfield Avenue, which is right up the block, walk up Claremont, and I was home. So this is
That's amazing.
I know this neighborhood. I used to play football at Lafayette Park, 22 Park. All right. We used to walk from my house on Claremont and Randolph right through this area to get the shortcut to go to football practice at 22 Park. So I know this area.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I won a football for a game-winning touchdown I threw as quarterback, and we had a dinner and a celebration dinner for the season, and I was awarded this football for that game. And I was down here. My father always told me, "Don't touch that football. That is not to be played with." So I took it anyway out the house. We were back there playing. I kicked it on top of the roof, and I never saw it again. Now the factory's gone. The factory's gone. And my father, he didn't whip me, but he was pissed. Oh, he was upset. Don't you
Wow.
take that football out the house, right? And I kicked it up on the roof, and now the factory's gone. And now it's becoming this art community. So I know this neighborhood.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of history here. We have a lot of guests. The podcast here, Culture Shift, is right in the Bergen Lafayette area.
Mhm.
It's very underground, and there's a lot of culture and color and diversity here. They still have bodegas, and now they have fancy places. Mike the Grind, with the one of the top coffee in Jersey City,
Hmm.
is in the neighborhood. The Great Beer 902, the best craft beer in Jersey City, and it's probably one of the best in the state this year. Cinely is actually the only Hollywood Netflix studio. Is right here, down here. Dan, and he's part of our committee too. So, I how I got involved here in this neighborhood again. I always drove by here. I wish I had bought my property here. I would love to be in this neighborhood. Not, but um, what happens is 2 years ago, I celebrated the 10th anniversary mural of the JCY map right here in this walls, right behind, outside this building, and then with a mirror bus box, and I met Andrew from Epic, the whole community here I met, and they all came together to help to give pizza to the kids and to film and to collaborate. So I felt that I was back in a community, and I was like, oh my God, this, and they're like, dude, why don't you stay, man? Let's do stuff. So I'm like, yeah, let's do stuff. And that's how I reconnected to the neighborhood
Hmm.
about 2 years ago. And since we've been organizing, we had incredible events in this neighborhood. I will take you after this recording here to see the incredible art that we did outside, bringing graffiti artists, those break dance, those incredible stuff that happened here last year. So I'm glad you came back to your neighborhood. But what I want to ask you is where, like you growing up in Jersey City, kicking football, there's a period your father stopped, but when is the poetry or English literature or whatever that is start clicking on you and it start to becoming a thing?
Well, it's because of my parents made me read.
Mm.
We had Encyclopedia Britannicas. I had to read all the way
But
A
you love
through
reading,
Z.
right?
Oh, yeah, well, I had
You're an
no other
avid
choice.
reader,
I
right?
had no other choice because that's the way I was raised.
Okay.
Like, I was taught, not only my mother and father, but both sets of grandparents, people in the community, I was taught that if you didn't read, you were gonna lose.
Mm.
That literally was stamped into my head as a kid. You're not
Okay.
reading, how you gonna see the
Like you're a
world?
loser. You're a loser. You're
How
not
not
gonna
a
do nothing.
loser, but you're going to lose.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All
And
right.
it's
All right.
like here, in other words, no one expected to get on an airplane and go to
Mm.
Bali when we were growing up.
Mm.
That was not the dream of people in this neighborhood. They were struggling, trying to work, put food on the table, get a good education. So nobody was thinking about getting on a jet, going anywhere,
Sure.
traveling. All right, that was not within
Mm.
most people's reach in my neighborhood. So now you're talking about older adults telling you you need to read so that you learn about the world because you may never see the world. You may never have money to get on a jet and
Mm.
go up a plane and go see the world. So you need to read about the world because I was taught globally.
Mm.
That's one thing as a kid that most kids didn't get, but
Mm.
I was taught that there's something other than 98A Randolph Avenue or PS number 6 or Snyder High School or
Mm.
Bayside Park. I was taught there's more than that. And then listening to Malcolm X as a kid, he was always emphasizing global, and not
Sure.
globalization economics, but global. So you understand cultures. You can't understand mankind if you don't understand their culture.
Yeah.
Right? No, speaking different languages. So I was raised like that. And so reading made me I had a grandmother I would go visit her in East Orange, which was kind of like the suburbs compared to Jersey City at the time. So it was like a treat to go there on Friday night and stay the weekend. But my grandmother would because it was nice, clean parks, a lot of pretty girls, a lot of football, basketball, a lot of things to do as compared to Jersey City. But my grandmother wouldn't let me go outside if I didn't read something and then tell her what I read before she let me go outside.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but I
So,
was
so,
off.
so the first thing we're establishing here, some guests, we kind of talked about the same thing, how this, I guess, informal mentorship is so important in our lives. The not maybe just the teacher that impact you, but the family, the uncle, the father, the mother. Then you say, "Hey, man, you gotta do this. You gotta just," and that's your first mentorship right there, and then you start grabbing to those concepts and building on it,
Well,
right?
as a human being, you haven't been raised right if that's not your responsibility the minute you or become consciousness of the fact
Mm.
that you're an adult. So if you weren't raised properly, you wouldn't know that. But that's what all of us are supposed to do. That's a responsibility. That's not a gift. That's a responsibility. If you got two legs, your brain's working well, blah, blah, whatever, you need to be helping someone else move forward. That's
True.
the job of you. That's humankind. And that's why we don't have a universal humankind anymore because it's so individual thanks to the brain dead rotation devices. All right. Bingo.
Right,
Thanks to these
right,
devices,
right.
we're not human anymore because we're not trying to help each
Mm.
other. We're trying to step over each other's shoulders. But I wasn't raised like that. And no matter what happens in the future, I can't go away from how I was raised.
Mm.
That's at the end of the day. So reading wise, and so I was always a nickel slick kind of little kid. My brain worked really they used to call me quick, but I think it had negative connotations attached to it, as opposed to being anything, like positive.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that one, you got to watch that one because he's quick.
It's bouncing. It's
Yeah,
bouncing.
and it wasn't a physical thing. It was
Yeah,
this with
yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah.
Like, oh, he thinks fast. You got to watch what you say around him. Blah 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 blah. So anyway, I was quick. So my grandma had all these books. So I go and she gives me a Langston Hughes book, The Panther and the Lash.
Mm.
Right? Read something from this and tell me what it's about. Then I'll let you go outside. So I go and look at the book, and I find the shortest poem in the book, this with the least amount of words. And I'm like, huh, because my brain always worked pretty well. So I find it, and it was called Liberty, I think. No, Justice. Yeah, and this is the poem. That justice is a blind goddess, is a thing to which we're wise. Her bandage hides two festering sores that once perhaps were eyes. That was the whole poem. That was the entire poem. And so, but I sat back there for like 10 minutes. I memorized it and went back out there and said it to her without the book. And at first she's looking at me like, go get me that book. I brought her the book, boom, gave it to her, and she's like, okay, go. So that's probably where it started.
Wow. How old were you when that happened?
7.
Wow, that's awesome.
6, 7. No,
Is that challenge that she put before you then?
it was. I wasn't 10 because my mother passed when I was 10, so it was my mother was still alive.
7, 8, you don't know.
Probably 8. Now, it wasn't. I wasn't 10. I'm sure it wasn't 6, but it's probably between 8, 7, 8, 9, that kind of thing. So anyway, so she let me go outside, but I realized in that moment that these words, which weren't mine, all right, that I learned them and was able to, and it was a conscious poem. It's about justice not being, for everybody. Justice is not fair, blah, blah, blah. So she lets me go out. Then every time I went there, I had to do that. So I'm always looking for the shortest poem because I know I could remember. But now I got skill. I did it.
Now
so
you start enjoying that thing.
Now I'm enjoying because, like,
wow.
I was intrigued at the fact, like, because I didn't know how I did it. I didn't realize it was a higher power that had somebody else, had nothing to do with me. All right. And like everything is timing. And the older we get, the more we realize everything is timing. Timing is more important than talent.
Sure.
Timing is more important than talent.
Right.
Without a doubt. It helps to have talent. It helps to have a good work ethic. But there's no way you don't get a break. You're not getting in. Like they should teach in visual art class or writing class in colleges. They should teach how to make a break. How to make a break for yourself. That should be a class. That should be a course. You should be able to get a degree on how to make a break in the world. All right. But anyway, that's what kind of captivated me.
It's interesting because, yeah, I was thinking about when I'm working with kids, like sometimes you dealing with kids has talent, but they have no character. They own follow up instructions or really connect with the mentor and want to learn more. Sometimes I have that. You never know when I select students to come. You obviously they all respond differently, but
Obviously.
but some of them it's like you can see the ones
It's in their
the
eyes.
ones
You're saying it right
understand
now.
I'm before an incredible mentor. They are the ones that take more. The ones I came ready. I know. So sometimes I tell people it's not just talent. Is how you gonna apply yourself and how are you willing to dig in, right? To push yourself to the next level.
It's in their eyes.
Yeah.
Perfect example, because I'm not into hypothetical. That's BS. All right. Perfect example. You were there. You were a witness to it. Olivia at the end of our event the other day. The
True.
young girl that got up and kind of freestyled a poem, right? Remember her at the end?
Yeah, of course.
I saw her come in when she first walked in. She came down the stairs, and I noticed her. I just happened to look over and notice her with another, I guess, one of her friends. All right. And the thing I saw, I could tell by the way she was talking to her friend that she had this energy that I could see she was a good person or a loving, you could see it. All right. And I was like, I never said anything to her. I was waiting, waiting, waiting. I was like, I'm going to try to somehow get her up on the stage or get up, you know. She's the one that wrote Hate Over Hope on your painting. And the way she put it, the way she constructed it, and she's young. I don't think she was 10 years old, but the way she constructed the words hate over hope on the canvas, on the boards, that let me know like she's an artist. So I waited till the last minute, till we were almost closing down. Then I just gingerly walked up to her and said, like, hey, do you write poetry? She said, no. I said, why don't you come up to the microphone with me? And she just walked right up there. And you see what she did.
Yeah, it was
She
incredible.
freestyled a poem based on her teacher's first name.
And she was very active at the board.
She was all over the board, but
and
I
on
saw
and
that
on.
too. So
And
that
it's like,
kind of
yeah,
like, okay,
you're right,
she's ready to
right.
roll.
Yes.
But that's what I'm saying. When you dealing with kids, young adults, it's always in their eyes. For me, I can always read their eyes. Either they'll shy away from you or they'll be beaming it, but I can always see through their eyes. And you know the ones that's going to be a behavioral problem, you can see it in their eyes. And you need to try to help them more than the ones that are
Yeah, yeah,
whose
of
eyes
course,
are
of
shining.
course.
But it's it's how you keep things moving. It's just how you keep things
True.
moving. So I was waiting for a moment to kind of like get her to shine because I could see she was shining already.
Yeah, that was incredible performance. The way we improvise, the way it was pure jest, right?
Yeah.
Was
Well, it's the way we
it's
got
an
to be.
instant art performing band. Is
Yeah.
Reggie Gaines the poet, Mark the producer, Calvin Mark the producer musician, Calvin musician, producer musician, and then Duda the visual.
Yeah, it was
You
interesting. It was
know,
really amazing.
we just had a lot of fun. But what I love in those performances and how when you get people to transcend, to pass their fear and enter their creativity, it start happening that collective manifestation with everyone going, joining, coming back,
It's
and
based on
finding the
trust.
color and the music and the words.
Based on trust.
It's just yeah.
And so the thing is,
All
if
built
they
up.
see the musicians and the poet and the painter interact, then also the music is really crucial because the music
Yeah,
sets the tone, makes people feel safe, makes the space seem safe. All right. They let their guards down. So it's the rhythms and the music that are really the key to the whole thing. Finding the right melody for the room, kind of like sizing up Mark or Calvin sizing up who's in the room. They're playing, Calvin's playing the bass line. He can see somebody snapping their finger or going like this. So it's and that melody, then they'll expound on that melody. So you start playing the melody, you see 4 or 5 people snapping their fingers and they're not even together.
yeah,
That's the melody. So you just build on the melody, build on the melody.
yeah,
So like the words are useless without the music, in my estimation.
yeah,
So the musicians are a safety net for me because they can give me a sense. I do the same thing. I'm looking to see who's snapping their fingers, stamping their feet, doing the jerk or the bump. And then I can kind of figure out what to say and what not to say
yeah.
based on their rhythms. It's not an
And
intellectual
then
exercise.
body
Yeah,
language.
it's not an intellectual exercise. It's based on the rhythms that the melody creates that then I can see how it's affecting the people, then I can go from there.
It's pure cave manifestation.
Yeah.
Going back to the first mankind manifestation. We're going tap to the human collective.
Yeah. It's communication.
Yeah, yeah,
And never in the history of this world, and definitely in this country, have we needed more collective communication to happen.
agree.
All right. And the prime example is the guy who's running our country.
Mm,
He doesn't really have a creative aspect or mind about it, but he's tapped into how to make people believe lies based on rhythms, just the rhythms of his language. All right. He's giving people A-OK to lie. All right. Based on the rhythms and the words that he uses and the speeches. And, like how many people, what number would you give him if it was a dance contest and the Village People song came on YMCA, right?
mm.
And somebody's going, what number would you give him? What score would you give him for this? can't dance worth a damn. But what score would you give him? But this is driving, and you got people out in the street like this. That's ridiculous. So that means he has somehow incorporated negative rhythms into the zeitgeist of 2026 February right now. Negative rhythms are running this country right now.
Mm.
We need a Stevie Wonder song right now to break up this nonsense. All right, we need a global hit by Stevie Wonder or anyone. It can't be what's the woman's name who's really popular right now? Uh, I don't know her name. She had a album called Dead Poetry Society.
Mm.
I don't know. I don't listen to the music. She's kind of like was going out with the football player from Kansas City Chiefs. Anyway, she hits up because we don't know her name. She's useless.
Yeah,
Her art is useless.
you
I
know.
can't even remember her name.
Yeah, you're touching.
You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, you're touching something important.
Mark, who am I talking about?
Because when you don't remember the person, you don't. It didn't really make a big impression on you.
No.
So I wanna say this as we're talking about here. I never thought about this. It's just this thought just came to me right now. One of my best friends and influences I have in my, I was born in São Paulo, Brazil. S- São Paulo is the biggest city in South America, 11 million. It's a lot of culture, a lot of people, a lot of going on. Um, but in my journey in America, when I came here in 1996, so it's gonna be 30 years, and I'm here now. Always around, always lived around the New York tri-state area, a little bit in Manhattan, and then Brooklyn, Queens, and then came to Jersey City. Um, my One of my best friends that always made the touch me the most and helped me to shape the most. There's always, th- I would say, the top 10. Many of them are Afro Americans. Is that you, Reggie Gaines? I mean, my interaction with you was incredible, and it's when you work with people. I think art. I don't care what the style you do and what you do. When it has meaning, it touches, it transforms, right? So my interactions with you was incredible. And I'm like, we worked, we did that. I'm like, I wish one day we're gonna work together. Now we're working together again. I had Dr. Preston, which is considered the Renaissance man in New York City, and he's a writer, poet, professor, artist, and he create incredible impact on me. He opened me a lot of doors. I met through him. One of my other friends is Will Cajon, the drummer
Yeah.
from
Living Color.
the Living Color. So learning all of that and becoming friends with you guys. I mean, it created tremendous impact on me to think a lot of things. Then I met through Dr. Preston. I met Malcolm X's daughter,
Mm.
and then I was able to do interview with him. And I found out that her mom loved Brazil and went to Brazil,
Mm.
and I was able to articulate for her to go down to Brazil and to represent America into the Afro Brazilian celebration
Nice.
in Brazil, and so help to close a cycle for her life. We started with her mom and talked about the impression of being Malcolm X's daughter. Obviously, that was my interest. I spent a lot of time studying Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. and other people, because to me, those important pieces to understand in not just in American history, to me in history overall, right? When you
Yeah.
think about what happened in recent history of slavery, right? Slavery is a long thing. It began in the beginning, basically, right? So, and all of that is tremendous impact in my life. But I realized then how would you saying most of the people who could impact on me had those stories like, hey, my family did this. My family was, you know, there was that kind of education that was very important from the home, right? Out. And today we live in a society then like, hey man, let the teachers raise the kids. We're busy. Give them the phone so they can get busy, and we lost that.
Well, I don't think we lost it. I think
I mean,
people that behave like that, they never had it. They never had it. All right.
you think that,
If
that you
you're
think,
raised properly, you do not forget that.
no, no, yeah.
You do
But
not
but what up
forget your
this new
roots.
generation? You think this? Where did they start? Because there's this whole new generation. Then it's just like,
But there's a wedge between maybe somebody's good intentions and where the kids are at, because the kids are being taught to be automatons. They're taught to be machines. Children are learning to be machines. They're learning to be
yeah.
machines,
What
period. And
what
that gets in between what their parents, all right, have learned. And here, you either know what's right or wrong or you don't. That's the only way I can look at it because of the way I was raised. Nothing can wedge in between that belief of mine. I know right from wrong. So if I'm doing something wrong, I know I'm doing something wrong. The wedge has been put in between that and the kids being taught it's okay to disregard what's wrong. It's okay to disregard your feelings about what's right. All right. It's the device, the brain dead rotation devices more than anything
y-
else.
it's so interesting that you telling your story, and I was thinking about mine a little bit. My parents were very intentional. Some people come. I'm sure a lot of people come to me. Some people come to me, but dude, you like awesome, man. The way you study this, that, And I'm like, I didn't have a choice, man. My parents just shoveled it. You gotta learn this. We're gonna take you there. You need to understand this.
Of
You need
course.
to think about that. And I was just put in that situation that I needed to react and learn. And then it became, like you. I like this. I like that. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. So you know, in a way, we're privileged that way.
Of
No, no,
course.
no, privilege is not about things, but is much more about education,
It's
idea.
knowledge.
It's
Privilege is
not
knowledge.
knowledge, right?
You know?
So wisdom, knowledge, right? And to me, I guess that's what I treasure the most in life. But I was put in a situation as a boy, so I'm like, some other people didn't have that. I did. So for me, it's so important, like eating, going to the museum. It's like the same way I like to eat a good steak or salad, whatever that is. I have to go to a museum one point to refresh my mind, to put myself in the place of divine inspiration, right? Um, so we're privileged that way, right? Don't you think so?
I know so, but privilege has got a different definition
But you know what I mean.
today.
What I mean,
Yeah,
what
but
I say by
of
privilege,
course, it's like
privilege or idea, culture.
this is privilege. You have parents that can afford to pay for 4 years of your college at NYU to get an MFA, or 6 years to get an MFA in acting. All right, that's privilege. You could also be privileged if you have the Encyclopedia Britannica in your
Right.
house when you're 5 years old,
Which I
and
had
then
too.
your
Yes.
parents are telling you you have to read that.
Look into those books.
Go look at that. That's
Right.
privilege too.
That
What
yeah.
privilege would you rather
True, true,
have?
true.
And
That was my privilege.
who's
The book
going to
is here.
benefit the most?
Yeah.
The person who's got the encyclopedia, or the person who's got parents who have money to send them to 6 years of school and they'll never have any debt or anything like that? It's almost impossible to be appreciative of that opportunity, because if somebody's got that kind of money, what kind of a great human being did that person have to be that got all that money to teach their children to be on an even keel at all times? You're privileged financially, or privileged not in terms of knowledge. We're all privileged. You privileged if you breathing right now.
True.
Yeah.
True.
You privileged if you never had COVID.
Yeah.
You privileged, yo.
I'm not the privileged. I had COVID.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
a lot of people do.
yeah,
But
I
that's what
had
I'm
it.
saying. It's like,
No, it's just a joke.
in the world's a mess, and
Yeah.
I'm as happy as I could be as a human being, but
True.
not because the world's a
True.
mess, because I'm appreciative of the situation I'm in.
Yeah. Sure.
Period. But How many people do you meet that love the life they live?
Yeah. Yeah. So
How,
Reggie, talking about that, the whole story about hey, read this stuff, then you're never gonna travel. That did not happen to you. You you start reading those books and you start doing the poetry, the poetry performance, and you start doing things and you travel, you went to places.
well, I've been to
Right,
places.
right,
I've been to
right, right,
places, but
right.
it was
So
because of it's because someone else directed me to get some
yes,
knowledge
true, true,
that then I chased after the knowledge, and it kinda got me to Israel, it
true,
got me to Monaco, it got me
true,
to Kingston, it got me to Germany's multiple yeah, so but that wasn't in the plan when I was a kid.
true,
That wasn't the plan.
true.
The idea was from my elders of authority figures like, "You may never get on we may never be able to put you on a plane to go from here to Washington, DC. You could read about Washington, DC. You have to read about Washington,
Right,
DC."
true.
And so it was all or here, I listened to Malcolm X on the radio every Sunday at 6 p.m. for until I was until I was at least a junior in high school. I mean, he was dead by then.
Mm,
A couple of years before that, he passed away, but I listened to him, and he used to say I revered him,
mm.
and yet most of my peers, most of the teachers, they were scared to death of him. They thought he was a violent man. They thought he was they thought he represented violence. Yet I would hear him, and there's no way in the world that he ever did anything violent to anyone. And if you ever heard him talk, or if you ever saw pictures of
Yeah, I
him
did.
smile, the
I'll
smile
watch
on
it.
his face would tell. If you look at a picture of him, the smile on his face would tell you, "There's no way
Yeah,
this
they
man could do
demonize
anything."
him.
Yeah,
They those, I mean, we don't have time to get into that, but I did deep research. I watch a lot. It was incredible. I spent time with Malak Shabazz,
yeah.
his daughter. That daughter in particular that I spent some time with became friends.
Good for you, man.
She served at the UN in some special program.
Yeah, good for you.
So
That's
it was
that's
incredible to be able to. I asked some personal questions, obviously, the price the family pay and so on and so forth. But that was very crazy, interesting times in America.
he's a reason why I'm a poet and not a writer so much, but actually to be able to get up on the stage and
Mm,
express truth and beauty through words. He's responsible for that.
mm,
Not knowingly when I was listening to him, but
mm.
the way he used metaphors, the way he used
Yeah,
alliteration,
it
just the
was
way he
brilliant.
spoke, the way he hardly ever
Mm,
I don't trust anyone
mm,
who's in the public view making important statements that reads off a prompter or reads off a piece of paper. I don't trust them. I don't trust anyone who gets up on the stage. I don't care if it's a marriage, vows. I don't care what. If you get up on the stage and you're in an emotional situation, you can't create beauty and truth with your language from your head. I don't trust you.
mm.
I don't trust any human being that cannot tell me from what's in their heart. Why? Because you don't have the words to use? Please. That's a BS excuse.
Mm.
Oh, I'm gonna read off this. No. Oh, please. You got truth and beauty in your heart. You want to express it to me in this audience, and you're gonna read off a piece of paper? Malcolm X wouldn't read off a piece of paper because he worried about somebody might pulling out a gun and shooting him from the audience. He got to keep his eye on everybody. All right. That alone. Think about that. You get up there to tell this important truth to black people, and you can't even read off a piece of paper or index cards because you got to watch you got people watching your back, and you got to watch the people
Mm.
who are watching your back watch your back. You got to watch them. And so I learned, and this is not something I consciously learned, but as you start to grow, you become conscious. First time I get up on the stage, probably thinking in my head the most was like, wow, Malcolm X stood up there and they shot him. They blew him off the stage. First thing he said, peace, hold it. He said, Assalamu alaikum, he said. Assalamu alaikum, he said. All right. Peace be unto you, you know. He said peace to this audience. A little round, something happened in the audience. Next thing he gets shot. But the last thing came out of his mouth, he said, cool it, brothers, and he's dead. So he said, peace be unto you, cool it, brothers, and he's dead. That's poetry.
Mm.
That's poetry. So when I get up on the stage, even today, yesterday, last night, the day before, he's in the back of my mind. Like people, oh, I'm nervous. I don't like to do public speaking. Well, can you imagine that you would get up on the stage, you have something so important to say that somebody might want to shoot you, and you worry about anxiety and nervousness getting up on the stage? Just BS. So I don't trust nobody,
Mm.
no one that gets up in front of human beings and speaks to them off a piece of paper. I don't trust newscasters. They're reading off the teleprompters. Trust nobody. Nobody that can't speak from their heart. Don't trust them. And how did you get in front of my face in the first place? How did you manipulate the situation where you can get in front of my face and talk to me, reading it off something, not telling me the truth? So they're liars. And I detest liars.
It's always staged.
Yeah. Stage, scripted, whatever you want to call it. I hate anything scripted.
Yeah.
Look at instant art. I hate anything scripted. I hate GPSs on the phone. People don't even know where they're going anymore. It's okay not to know where you're going, because the machine will tell. People rely on that. And then how often have you put your GPS on, and then they take you somewhere, and somebody in the car you go like, no, that's not the way to go. All right. So how could you even trust automatons? But anyway, that's another story.
Yeah, yeah.
That's another
So,
story.
I also had the privilege to go now the Malcolm X Center.
Yeah,
It
Schaumburg.
is where they shot him, right? So that's when I interviewed the daughter, right? In the location. It was incredible, emotional to, know, l- see and relive all these moments you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, and I grew up in that era.
Yeah,
I was a
know.
kid when that was
Yeah,
happening.
sure,
You
sure,
know how I felt when
sure.
the news came? Here, I give you a great act. I was in grammar school when President Kennedy was assassinated. Just a couple of years later, Malcolm X was assassinated. I was alive and breathing and conscious. These things happened in my lifetime that I saw, read, blah, blah, blah. Right? What kind of effect do you think that has on me as an artist right now, all these years later? But I lived through that. All right. I lived through that. So that shapes and molds what you believe.
True,
It
true.
just shapes and so it's not something I read out of a book, but I hear people talk about it all the time.
Right.
Malcolm X getting shot, Kennedy doing this, and when you experience it while you're breathing and conscious, it changes the framing of it.
And that particular time of history was intense because
Of
was
course.
Malcolm X, there was Martin Luther King Jr., it was everybody. And then the second Kennedy brother, it's like, was intense.
It's funny you bring that up. Here, let me give you something else because I'm into juxtaposition, and I'm definitely into contradictions. I love stuff that contradicts itself. Like this is what somebody believes this, somebody else believes that.
Right,
Okay,
right.
who's right? Where's the middle? Blah blah blah.
Mhm.
Most people in my neighborhood here in Jersey City, Bergen Lafayette, Greenville section, most of the people who live in our blocks, none of them had pictures of John Kennedy on the wall. Because if you study history, you think black people love John Kennedy. And they have pictures on the wall. Martin Luther King. Nobody had a Malcolm X picture now. Hey, I can't remember. I don't know a single neighbor in my neighborhood that had a Malcolm X picture in a frame. All right. None had Kennedy. Maybe a couple had Kennedy. Everybody had Martin Luther King. And so as a kid, you're growing up, breathing, you trying to figure out what you think, why is that? So when they shoot Dr. King, I'm too young to understand his importance to be killed. Why would he? I don't know. I'm a kid. Why would they blow his head off? I don't know why they would blow Kennedy's head off. I know why they killed Malcolm X. I'm basically the same age, but I didn't know about Kennedy. I didn't know about Martin Luther King, but I knew why they killed him. And so now I'm in the middle of all of this, and it shapes you. So one thing as a kid, and I'm 10 years old when they shoot Malcolm X. So one thing I did know from all of that is that things come to an end. No child, a child should be like, yo, the world has infinite possibilities. I didn't have that. All right. My mother died a few months after Malcolm X did.
Wow.
Kennedy died. My mother died in 1965, December. Then King, 68, and I'm like, things come to an end. So after a while, but a child should be thinking the world has infinite possibilities. And you're a little kid, not even in double figures, and you're like, things gonna end. That's going to disrupt the plan, the positive plan. How did we get to this subject? Jesus.
Wow, it's just getting deeper and deeper. But the point is about instant art. I guess is this conversation is just going.
Well,
But
yeah, well,
I know where I want to go with this. My point was we're just talking here about memories, what shaped you,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
what I find interesting in this conversation. Then somehow they were preparing to be a human being, then and knowledge and curiosity, without not knowing where you're going, because they didn't know if you had the chance to go, but you did. And then take us to what happened to you until you did the incredible bring the noise, bring the
Okay,
funk,
here,
and
perfect example.
Broadway, New York City.
That's almost 30 years ago. We're getting ready to celebrate that. All right.
Mm.
But when I was a kid, these same years I'm talking about, my grandmother, Marcella Victoria Quarles, was taking me to Broadway shows. How's a black woman, middle-aged, middle-class black woman, get money to take a little 7, 8, 9-year-old, 10-year-old black kid to a Broadway musical? All right, that's I'm the only black person with her in the audience. 1,000 people sitting there, and I'm the only black person, kid in the audience. How does that shape you? And then years later, 40, 50 years later, I write a musical that wins Tony Awards.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So it ain't got nothing to do with me. All right. I have to just learn. So Marcel is a perfect example of someone, one of my authority figures who taught me how to stay out of my own way. Let it happen. She never told me. She took me to see It's a Bird, It's a Plane, It's Superman. Because when I was a little kid, I used to like the show The Superman. I used to like him jumping out the window flying. All right. She took me, the first musical I ever saw was called It's a Bird, It's a Plane, It's Superman. But I'm still a little black kid
Oh
from
yeah, yeah,
Jersey
yeah, yeah. It's a
City,
bird, it's a
right?
plane.
I'm still a little black kid from Jersey City. I don't believe none of that, but I'm still a kid.
Mm.
I was 7 or 8 when she took me, but I'm still a kid. All right. I don't believe in Superman. So now I'm sitting in in the theater, and now I see this guy flying across the
Mm.
stage on a wire, and I'm like, this is not even real. Not that I didn't know that before I went there, but I was hoping there was some magic or something mystical
So
about it,
something special.
something special, and it was not special. All right. But she still set me up. I seen the lights. I saw how people dressed. I saw the music and all. So I got all it in my head through osmosis because she had the wherewithal to take me. Why she even take me? What am I doing at 7, 8 years old going to see It's a Bird, It's a Plane, It's Superman? That's not my reality.
Mm.
But she knew I used to watch that cartoon. She took
Mm.
that's the only time that's not the only time she took me. I
Mm.
saw James Baldwin's Blues for Mr. Charlie. I saw, so
So that was the location was happening in that fashion.
but who knew?
Yeah.
She might have known.
Yeah.
She might have had vision. And I'm so
Yeah.
it's a shame she passed away and didn't know. She knows because she's an angel, but she would have been ecstatic. Like I wrote something that won Tony Awards because she loved theater.
Yeah. It's the same thing when I always tell people I take all my grandchildren to my exhibitions, my daughter, they all start like that. They all come to whatever I do, and then I consider that the best learning. They as a kid they go, they see art, they interact with me. They it's already in them, you know. One of the things I'm most proud about my daughter has now 4 kids, and the last 3 kids, one is older, but the last three is like a little difference, 2 years. And she decided to stay home and do something home to really give love and attention to them. I told my daughter, I applaud you
Congratulations to
because a
her.
lot of people today would just busy, 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 put the kids here and there, and everybody else raising your kids.
Yeah.
And you have to be careful with that because it's not just about somebody, it's about the love that you must, it's about the connection between you and your children, but it's about you passing the values that was passing to you. And other people are never going to do the job you need to do. You want to have kids, man, you got to make time. That's the reality. And I mean now everything now the same principle. Spiritual kids, mentors, this it's the same thing. It's the
Yeah.
same thing. And be open to what has transformed me as an artist always is the human experiences meeting people along the way. How do I know? You're talking about, so how do I know I'm gonna end up in New York and then from New York bouncing here and there and me, you and Georgia Preston and Will and travel here and travel there, but travel with meaning, travel doing incredible projects and partner with people where they bring in poetry, they bring music. Just think about what we did before. We started with you writing some poetry in my paintings, and then we did two performance, video performance about 9/11 and all of that. And that, those installations travel everywhere with me for a few years.
Mm.
You are always with me in those things. I was just talking about you. I work with this poet. They did this with me and explaining that no, the Jacques, remember, writing with Jacques performance we did that went crazy, went everywhere. It's actually I'm cataloged into the World Trade Center Museum. The World Trade Center Museum organized the artists, and we all live in an online website
Oh,
today.
nice.
So I'm one of the artists in the World Trade Center Museum archives, but you were there with me, and who knows? But we did together, and from writing words in my paintings,
Which
now
I
we
thought you were crazy when you asked me
yeah
to
yeah
do it. And I said,
yeah,
like,
but
what are you
yeah,
talking
of
about,
course that
man?
was amazing.
And I was thinking to myself, what if that's a mistake? You're gonna mess up your painting.
No,
I
that
kept
was
saying, you
yeah,
were like, no,
that
no,
was
go
pure
ahead, do
jazz.
it, do it. No, you're gonna mess up your painting, bro. I don't know where to go. But
That was pure
now
jazz.
I look at it now. When I walked in the building, I look at it now and I'm like, wow, he had a vision because I didn't even want to do it.
Yeah,
Fred
yeah,
is
yeah.
Fred is dead. Remember?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So all of that happened,
Yeah.
but it's lending yourself to the human interactions,
Yeah.
with people than great artists. It's that simple in a way. When you see somebody doing, you see greatness, you just come along and all things are gonna happen. So yeah, I was very jazzy that way in my life. Allowing once I meet somebody, I said, "But this is something great here. I'm just gonna entertain." And I think all of that culminated into those two things. You first invite me. I gave an interview for you a few years ago. I think your documentary is coming up soon,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's called the Instant Art
Instant
documentary.
art.
And now we're doing the Instant Art performance.
Yeah. Instant art.
This is amazing. Reggie, we're about to close. Why don't you do like a poem?
Oh, don't make me do that. That's
Come
gonna
on.
mess
So,
up the
so,
whole.
so,
I
so
don't feel like that.
okay, just say
You put me
something.
you put me in a situation where I'm talking about things that I feel strongly about,
What about the Jordan?
and I really don't want to. I mean, I'd rather just talk
All right,
because
all
to me,
right.
that's like it's like a commercial. I love poetry. I love my poetry, but it's like a commercial to me. It's like that's not who I
So,
am.
in closing, how did you go into just not poetry, but putting music and really pushing jazz improvisation?
Because I have genius family members who are musicians.
Oh,
And
okay.
so being around them is through osmosis. I don't play any instruments, but when I first started to get into poetry and writing and art, my model was Calvin and Gordon and Shelley and Philip. These are all artists, these are my siblings. And so I watched what they did and I try to incorporate that. For instance, the very first time I read poetry at the Nuyorican Poets Cafe, I read somebody else's poem because Calvin, Mark, all these musicians, they find their voice by learning other great musicians' songs. I thought as a writer, I was supposed to do the same thing. So I get up on stage and I read a poem that wasn't mine, right? And the crowd loved it, was clapping. And the minute I got off the stage, the guy who was the MC, right? He says, that was really good. Then he tells me, this is what he says, but you can only read your own poems in this open mic. You cannot read somebody else's poem. And he knew the guy whose poem I read.
Sure.
He knew the guy, and he was literally scolding me for doing it, right? Even though because he knew the guy. They were friends. And so he scolded me, right? After the open mic was over, the guy who owned the New Eureka Poets Cafe comes up to me and says, "Hey, come have a drink." I said, "I don't drink, man. Come sit down, have a shit." And he starts telling me a story about the guy whose poem I read and how they built the cafe together, how they came up with the idea. And I became really friendly with him because of that situation. So one guy who's like a subplot, he's scolding me for doing it. But the guy who's responsible for the whole thing happening is celebrating. And him and I became really friends. Really, really, really good friends.
Yeah, and
Miguel Algarin.
and then a few years passed, invite me to go with you, and that was writing with Yaka. I was walking with the sculpture on the stage, you doing the poem. That's where we started.
That's where we started.
Listen, thank you so much.
All right, thank
so
you,
much,
bro.
and this is fantastic, man. I'm here with the only Reggie E. Gaines. Man, it's instant art.
Instant art.
Instant life.
A Reggie E. Gaines story. That's what the documentary's called.
The Reggie Gaines story.
Instant
Amazing.
art.
The Reggie Gaines
Thanks,
story.
bro.
Coming
Appreciate
up
it.
soon this year, right?
Yeah,
And
I think in May.
probably at some
May
point
2026.
in
My
2026.
birthday. Yep.
Amazing. Let us know. I want to be there.
You'll know.
To be continued.
You'll be the
Amazing.
second to know.
Thank you.
I'll be
Appreciate that.
first.
Thank you so much for watching another great episode of Culture Shift. A lot more to come, and you know what I say, to be continued, my friends.